Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tyngsborough Public Schools School Committee meeting located here at the Tyngsborough High School PDC. Today is Tuesday, March 26, 2024. My name is Anthony Tenorella. I officially call this meeting to order. At this time, we'll start with introductions to my left.
Becky Stanton.
Mike Woodlock, Assistant Superintendent.
Hi, Mike Flanagan, Superintendent.
Danielle Athanas.
Ryan McMahon.
Rob Mullen.
Good evening, Joe Messina, School Business Administrator.
If I could ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to, actually, no. We're going to go into public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2025 school budget. I'll seek a motion to suspend our regular scheduled meeting and open the public hearing on the 2025 budget.
I'll make a motion to suspend the meeting to open the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries.
So, Mr. Chair, the public, the budget, the FY25 budget is available for the public right there on the table. Mr. Messina, anything you want to add per Mass General Law, or anything you would like to add about our budget?
No, so this is the school committee's budget that was reviewed with the committee on February 27th. It does show, it's a balanced budget. It does show the 2.7% growth as expected. So we have a total school expenditures of $26,745,641 with a school committee budget in that component of $23,463,000 and $463,879. So I would seek the committee to approve that at the end of the hearing to submit to Town Hall and to the voters at town meeting.
If I could just add one thing to that, Mr. Chair. Last night, we had the opportunity to present to the Select Board our budget, our FY25 budget, and I think we again heard the commitment of that 2.7%. And we made our case last night that 2.7% in perpetuity is going to be very difficult to manage. And I just want to acknowledge and thank the Select Board and the Town Administration for being creative with us and working around through our SPED stabilization account to really alleviate some of the budget problems. For those of you at home who didn't have the opportunity to watch the Select Board meeting last night, we did talk a lot at length about the fiscal impact of where we are as a Commonwealth and a country at this point. We talked about unfunded mandates, and we talked about long-term forecasts for budgeting moving forward. So we're fortunate that we're in a good spot with our community to be able to get creative, but the budget crunch is real, and it's here. So it's something that we're going to have to keep an eye on moving forward, and as we think strategically about where the direction of the district is going to go. So thank you again to the administration for their work and support on this.
Excellent. I'll open up to the rest of the committee.
I just want to thank Mr. Messina and the Budget Subcommittee for all the hard work that went into this. I know it's never an easy task.
Anyone from the public? Seeing none. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing portion and return to our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget as presented in the public hearing with a total school expenditure of $26,745,641 and a school committee budget of $23,463,879.
I'll make that motion to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Thank you, Mr. Messina.
Thank you.
And, Dr.
5 months,
Flanagan.
5 months of hard work, so.
Yes, to you and your administration, everybody that participated in putting that together. The Budget Subcommittee also,
Yes,
thank
yep.
you to them. At this time, we'll move on to approval of minutes, February 29, 2024, Negotiation Subcommittee Executive Session minutes, which will not be released at this time, as well as March 12th Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee minutes, March 12th, 2024 School Committee meeting minutes, March 12th School Committee Executive Session minutes, and then the March 19th, 2024 Negotiation Subcommittee executive session minutes, which again will not be released at this time.
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Citizens' time. Seeing none. Correspondence?
None at this time, Mr. Chair.
Personnel? None at
Also
this
none at this
time.
time.
Share the success. Barry's not feeling well, so he's not here with us this evening. Subcommittee updates? We have none at this time.
Mr. Chair, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to take item 10B out of order.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstained?
So,
Carries.
Mr. Paula, would you like to come forward and introduce some guests for us?
So, pretty excited to share our celebration of learning process that we went through, and I asked each of the grade level teams to suggest some students who would come and share some of the work that they're doing and have done and what they're proud of. So I thought that would be a nice perspective for you all to have. So I have Audrey McCoy, 6th grade. I have Phil Gregorio, 7th grade, and Sage Sow in 8th grade. And so you get to see their school pictures in a minute, but this is the live version of this. Can we go to the first slide? So what we try to do with our celebration of learning is give the kids of the school an opportunity to take their parents through the school and almost in a student-led conference model, go and talk about what they've been doing. And if you've been through our building recently, it's just loaded with work that they've been doing for the year and the different activities, different classes. So that's been, it's been great to see, and we had a really wonderful night, which includes the next slide, Mr. Woodlock. This year we did it a little differently. We invited Katie Walsh and Jackie Richardson put together the celebration of us last year at the elementary school. We wanted to do it at our school so that we could have community members and families share their culture, share their experience, and then talk a little bit about what it also means to be here in Tyngsborough. So that took place in our auditorium and in our cafeteria. So we had a really busy night over there. It was pretty exciting. So next one is the three of them. They were very happy that I shared their school.
Nothing you want to see more than your school picture right there on the screen. That's great.
So we can start with Audrey. Go ahead, Audrey, you start.
So in creativity and innovation, we planned different trips on different budgets, and we did a weekend, a week, and a month trip, and it was really difficult to work on a budget with all the things you wanted to do in the trip. And so I did a New York trip, a Miami trip, and then for my month trip, I did a Nashville trip, and then we also went to Phoenix. And we also made a podcast using a script that we wrote ourselves for the month trip.
I'm going to do it, Audrey. I have to apologize. Can you go back one slide? I want you to notice what she went to see when she went to Miami.
I took a note.
I told her I wouldn't embarrass her, but I had to. That go by. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So in science, we have different units, and we get a packet of words that go along with that unit. And so we for when we make different word works, we use a list. We use a list, and then we use a wheel of names, and we spin the wheel, and whoever the name it lands on, that person can choose a word, and then that word can't be chosen again unless all the words are chosen. And in the word work, we show our understanding of the vocabulary for the unit. And in math, we do projects to show our understanding of what we're working on. And so the project on the slide is a percent project, and we got a list of problems, and we chose which problems we wanted to do that went under the different percent problems, and we got to show our work and decorate a poster.
So I I'm Phil. So for my first class, when I did band, I used to really struggle with playing trumpet. But then this year I kept on practicing and did private lessons. And also this year, we got more attention to ourselves with Mr. Eden. And all that hard work paid off as I improved like hugely. And we had a very successful Disney trip, which really paid off. For science, we have lots of different variety and different options for us to do our projects. They're very interactive projects too. An example of this was when we were supposed to make a plant cell, like a model of a plant cell. Some kids made a whole cake, but I just made a Lego model because I like Legos a lot. In media studies, this year we made a lot of videos and editing with Mr. G, and it really interested me, and I thought it was like a really cool thing to learn. I felt like I was like in the film industry basically. And in ELA class with Mr. P, I've improved a lot with my writing skills, and we read lots of inspirational books like Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which is a book that takes place during the Great Depression, and it involves topics like segregation and stuff, which is really interesting. And so here you can see my trumpet, and then our band trip with everybody, all my friends and Mr. Eden, which really paid off. Then in media studies we use CapCut to do to edit our videos and finish it off. And then in science, that is my Lego plant cell model, which has all the labels of all the different parts. And in ELA, that is my writing from our final exam in December. And the book we're currently reading, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry.
All right, so to start off, we have science. This year, it's more than others. It's more of a mix of theory and practical learning. Usually they're just there, they're talking. You do a few labs occasionally, you're taking notes and stuff, but this year, we do a lot more of the hands-on stuff. You actually get to see it happening. We do labs where we take different chemicals, bond them together, and actually see the evidence of reactions and fusions. We have models where we build atoms, periodic table, we get to see the different electrons in the shells and everything. We still also take notes too, good to learn. It's more so it helps a bigger variety of students because people learn in different ways. ELA class, one of my favorite classes this year, it's taught by Mr. Mislanka, good teacher, they're all good teachers. My favorite assignment was the 100-point assignment, really stuck out to me this year. Basically, it was this document where it had a bunch of different projects on it, and it had different assignments, and each assignment would have a different amount of points. It would scale with difficulty, and the higher the difficulty would be, the more involved and engaging it would be. And the ones I chose were to build a newspaper. You can see a little snippet of it on the slideshow. Basically, it's based on the book of The Outsiders, which we were reading at the time. You had to, based on the events going on in the book, pretend you were a journalist during the time period in the 1960s, read a report on the book, and it was really cool because it was also, you had to be accurate about the stuff that happened in the book, but you could also add a little bit of your own imagination to it, creating a whole story, wording it, and everything. It's like you were a journalist in the world of the book. It was more interesting, it stuck with me more. I remembered the information more that way too. I also did another one where you interviewed a character from the book. It was cool. And in media studies this year with Mr. G, it was an enjoyable class, but it still had content that taught us stuff. We learned about the rule of thirds, which is basically when you're recording, you have these three lines going across the screen, and it helps to keep the subject in the lines so that the viewers are more focused on it. You have elements like suspense that help with storytelling, keep viewers more engaged in your videos. Green screens and chroma key. Chroma key is just a more advanced way of green screening. You pick a certain color, it filters all of that color out, and you're just left with the remains. It was fun to make videos with friends. I liked the class too. And yeah. digital discovery, which is basically computers class. It was new from the other years. It's like a next step. Earlier, we were learning about stuff like cyberbullying and all that, but this year, we go forward and we learn about like digital footprint, managing funds, creating companies, finance. It's like you're looking through the eyes of a CEO, managing the companies, using spreadsheets and Excel, all of that good stuff.
There we go.
Excellent. Great job, guys. Great job. If you don't mind, I'm going to open it up to the members, and Mr. McMahon always has questions. So,
That's crazy.
So many questions.
I do, though.
Yeah.
So for each of you, what was your favorite project you've done so far this year?
100 points assignment.
Which was it?
The 100 points assignment from ELA.
What was it? What'd you do?
The one I talked about earlier, basically, there'd be a document,
Paid attention.
a bunch of assignments would be on it. And there'd be 20 points, 30 points, 40 points. And the more difficult the assignment, the more points it would reward. You'd have to do a different combination of assignments to reach up to 100 points. Like, the harder they would be, the more engaging they would be. Because more of it just like, the lesser ones would just be more just work, busy work, papers, IXLs. And the harder ones would be going out there and actually investing yourself in the material.
Cool.
So, for me, this year it was our Halloween-themed ELA word work, which is like pretty fun. But like overall, it was the plant cell Lego model because I did that like when I was in 6th grade. So, yeah.
Mine was probably the trips because they were more engaging, and like some of the work that we did in other classes were just like IXL, and we used like different websites. This one was more hands-on, and you got to like use like your creativity, and like you got to do what you wanted to do and not like go off of like a list of what teachers like want you to do.
Nice. So, Mr. Paul pointed it out, but I took the note too. How much of your budget would you say went to your Taylor Swift concerts?
Maybe like $4,000.
Well, you had to have floor seats, she told me. The other floor.
Totally worth it. Absolutely.
Very nice.
excellent. Yes.
I
Mr.
have a
Mullins? do you have anything?
I have a question. I loved hearing about how you were relating what you're doing in the classroom to something that you might do outside of school, like as a career. Each one of you touched on different points of that. Have any of these projects inspired you to start thinking about, I know you have a long way to go, but to start thinking about some of these as a potential career path?
For me, media studies this year has made me think that I might want to do filmmaking in the future.
Cool.
For me, it's more so digital discovery. My grandmother owns a company, actually. My mom helps out with it a lot. And doing it helped me. It was nice to see the stuff they actually do, because usually I just see them at their computers, typing stuff, numbers. And now I get to see what they're actually doing. It makes more sense to me. And like, I hope maybe I could help them out one day. I'm not sure.
That's great.
For me, in computers, we talked about different like careers that you can do, and we used some websites and we figured out what careers that we would be good at, and it kind of like showed like what we can do like in the future.
Nice. That's great. That's all I have.
Excellent.
Mr. McMahon stole my question.
He did.
He did.
That's
I was
awful.
going to ask what your favorite project was, but Mr. McMahon took my question.
See, I always ask that, so she got the idea from me in the first
Yeah,
place.
that's
so.
what it was. I totally just stole it. But
I was gonna say, if you look back at their slides too, they created all those slides. They did all the components to that too, so that was, I got to step back and just watch them do that, so, sorry to interrupt you.
No?
Yeah.
I was just going to say it was an excellent presentation. You guys did a great job.
Those slides were awesome. So, you know, I work in business and I work on slides all day long. So that's one of the big areas that I do a lot of slides, and these are really great slides. So I'm glad you pointed that out, Mr. Pollitt. I kind of thought that you might have made them, but you did a really nice job with these slides. All of these slides were wonderful.
That's my favorite right there. There's a periodic table.
And I was hooked on the $50 for the ice cream museum. But, you guys are the reason that we're here. We volunteered to do this because of you. And you guys did a tremendous job tonight. There's a lot of adults that couldn't do what the three of you just did, sitting here doing this presentation. So I thank you. I don't know if, Dr. Flanagan?
No, you did a phenomenal job. I like that you didn't read slides to us. I like that you personalized it, you told your story, you told some of the passion you have for your classes and whatnot. I think that's great. I guess if I were to ask questions of you, I would want to know, Audrey, how prepared did you feel going into the middle school, and how do you feel in the middle school now as a sixth grader? And then Sage, I'm going to want to know how prepared you feel to go to the high school. And Phil, kind of in the middle of it, how's it going, evolving and developing in the middle school? So if you can all just comment on the experience there. Anyone can go first.
So for me, so far, like in the middle of middle school, it seems it's been going really well. I mean, when I came in, I didn't really think it would go as well, but it has been working out really well. And just a lot of our classes are very interactive. So I feel prepared for 8th grade, but I also I also think I did a lot of hard work, and I'm ready for the next challenge.
Good. And I love to hear that you put your time into the instrument as well, into the trumpet as well, and you're succeeding there. I think that's important, and I think that's great. All right. How about coming in or going out? Who wants to go? Audrey, why don't you go?
Yeah. The biggest part for me that I was worried about in middle school was the transition. I was worried about like my schedule and how like that would work. But going on to like work-wise, I felt pretty good about like what I knew. And in middle school now, we're kind of like going over what we've done in the past years.
Good. All right. So you're feeling confident. You're feeling
Yeah.
great. Good.
All right, I'll follow up here. I think it would be growing old, going to the same building every day for 3 years, but it's not really actually.
Right.
Every year is like unlocking a new part of the school, kind of. Because in 6th grade, I was kind of locked to the bottom floor.
Yep.
Didn't really go upstairs much.
Yeah.
7th grade, I went up more, but the teachers kept us in our own hallway.
Mm-hmm.
In 8th grade now, I've been to the final hallway. I didn't really go through much. Know most of the rooms. The teachers keep things fun. New assignments, different material every day. About high school, I hope it's going to be something new. Not too intimidated by it, but I'm excited for it.
Good. And that's what we want. We want to be excited for it and feel like you're ready for it, and certainly not be intimidated by it. Unfortunately, I think the new design of the new school is going to be 6th grade in one wing, 7th grade in the 8th grade in another wing, but we'll just have to deal with that. It's too late now. So, great job tonight. I think they're phenomenal. I don't know if I give parents an opportunity to take a picture.
Yeah,
Take a short
absolutely.
recess.
Yeah, so, Mr. Piper, if we could if I get a motion to take a 5-minute recess?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Mr. Piper, if we could have 5? All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back from our short recess. And we will continue with item number 9, unfinished business, MSBA update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to remind the committee of upcoming meetings, we have a couple negotiation sessions coming up, as well as the opportunity to speak to our legislators at a tri-board meeting at Town Hall at 6:30 PM on April 8th, and then a regular school committee meeting. So we're getting through that. As we go to the next slide, I had a great meeting last week with Steve Sanderson and Left Field and JCJ to talk about progress in the school. Interior framing is about almost 100% complete on Building A. They hopefully are pouring slabs for the kitchen, the caf, the gym, central office, as well as the main office at the school in the main hallway, Building B, essentially. That is going to be really weather dependent, excuse me. There's been a little bit of rain, and the cold weather last week certainly was not conducive to pouring the slab, so they have to wait. So that will be ongoing in Building B. Building C, the interior stairs are up. The framing is ongoing there. I think the exciting component is next week we'll start to see some mason work on the outside of the building, or the first week in April, excuse me, which is next week. We'll see some mason work going up on the outside of the building. So the plan is to start in Building A, wrap it around the courtyard, so it may take some time before we actually see it in the front. And again, that'll be weather dependent as well. So the building is progressing. We had a great meeting last week as we talked about furniture and whatnot, made some final decisions there. Teachers got to have a voice and make some recommendations as well. These 3 pictures right here, just to provide a little insight, that's framing in Building A on the left. The second picture is a cool picture. That's from the bridge that overlooks the cafeteria. That's looking down on the cafeteria floor. You can see it's got the vapor barrier there ready to be poured, and the gym floor is waiting to be sealed up and poured as well. So the project is ongoing. Can't say enough about the construction team. I mean, they're so responsive to our needs, and they, the first thing we do every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock is they ask us, what do you need, what can we do, and how can we improve things? And, simple things like the green scrim on the fencing was coming off, and it didn't look great. So within a day, that was all repaired and replaced and whatnot. So they're highly responsive. So we're in a very good spot, I feel like, with the construction team, and we're on track for everything right now, so all good.
What's the noise level like? Has it gone down now the sort of
It really
site
has.
work has gone
Yeah,
down?
most of the work's inside. I think we hear a lot of beeping every time they back a lull up or the trucks up to do the framing of the roof. We hear that beeping, but the heavy construction equipment isn't necessarily on site anymore. It's all interior work at this point, so that's great. I think over the next couple of weeks we'll start to see the cement trucks come in to really start pouring. So, but it's much better than it was.
Good.
And that's the MSBA update.
Awesome. Teaching and learning update, Mr. Woodlock.
All right, thank you. A few things for us this evening. One, included in the packet for this week is our plans to conduct a community survey. A couple of years ago, we did the same thing. It was very informative for our planning processes. We got a lot of great information from the community. So we are going to partner again with the Education Commonwealth Project. You've heard me talk about them before with staff and student surveys. The results from past community surveys, again, were really helpful. So in combination with all of our data sources, one of the hardest ones to get is information and comments from the public. Now, sometimes we get them, and we may not be expecting them or want them, but they're necessary nonetheless. But just, the typical family out there that is comfortable or may have minor irritations with certain things, most people don't say anything. So we want to make sure that we're providing an opportunity for a voice. So anyone that's out there listening, it's a really great opportunity to share your thoughts with us, even if, there's nothing really pressing that you feel like comment. There'll be questions on there that, will be important to guide us in where we're going. Categories within the survey are as follows. Definitely parents as valued members of our community, school and family communication, the school as a supportive environment, student emotional well-being and physical safety, academics, obviously, it's a school, it's very important, culturally responsive curriculum, and family demographics. And in partnering with an outside source, this is what's really important for us, is we know, having studied, surveys and the processes involved with surveys, when you create your own survey, sometimes unintentionally, you might be creating questions that are leading to a certain thing, like what we expect or what we think or maybe what we'd want. And we want to make sure that we're not guiding or leading anyone with anything. Not that we would intentionally do that for any reason, but working with an outside group who conducts surveys with the state could be a really helpful thing. And they've been extremely helpful in helping us guide this, definitely giving us a lot of input as to what we're looking for, but also sharing with us some samples as to what they feel are good survey questions that would hopefully resonate with the community. So we're hoping, I think the average schools typically get is between 16 and 20%, so we'd love to get somewhere between 30 and 50% of respondents. So more information will be coming out from the schools with links to the survey. We're still working with Education Commonwealth Project to finalize the process, but if you're anyone interested can check what the survey questions look like. They're in the packet. So any questions about that particular process?
Timeline window of that?
We're hoping to, again, we're working with another group, so, but they're pretty responsive. So I'm hoping we're gonna have a finalized survey next week. I was communicating with our contact there today. So really, it's just a couple of things we need to finalize. We want to also make sure that we have it in a format that can be easily translated for any families that maybe don't have English as a first language at home. So that's really like the last hurdle that we need to cross there. So hoping to have, definitely at our next school committee meeting, we'll have hard information. We probably will even have, dates where survey is going to get out. We were hoping before April vacation when we initially started this, so.
But the results from the survey are giving me one data point that drive our work in the summer anyways. It's not like we were gonna, take this and this is gonna really help us with our SDI update over the summer, so. The timeline's gonna work.
All right, student opportunity plan.
Yeah, if I could just switch, pop this one in real quick, just in light of the event that happened last week at the elementary school. I'm sure everyone's here is aware, but we had a non-credible threat that was called in. They're typically called swatting calls. These happen nationwide, and until last week, we hadn't been the victim of one, and unfortunately, we were. But with any negative thing, there are opportunities to learn, and so first, I'd like to commend the staff and students at the elementary school. They did an amazing job and got, we were able to gain a lot from that as to what our strengths are, what we could work on, and so forth. So just as a reminder to folks, we do have a regular safety team that meets. It's the people that are on this list, but we also work with other people as needed. We've had Mr. Messina in for some of our meetings. Mr. Piper needs to be at some of our meetings because the finance part of it and, the communications and technology part are important when we're responding to an emergency. But it consists of Chief Russell from the Tyngsborough Fire Department, Deputy Chief Woods, and our own SRO, Chris Gustafson, who we've had here. So again, we meet regularly with that whole team, but our our Tyngsborough Public Schools team, which consists of Mr. Salmon, Mrs. Trainer here at the high school, and Mr. Hook from the middle school, and myself, we meet, at least once a month, usually more than that. So we had our meeting today. We have another meeting next week, and we'll be meeting in April with our whole group. So I just want to make sure that you all are reminded of it and the community out there reminded of it, that this is something that Tyngsborough Public Schools focuses on. We've brought in experts to kind of give us advice and look at what we're doing well and what we can improve on. So it's an ongoing thing. You can never be fully prepared, but we're always looking to be more prepared. And so it's a good group, and I think we're in pretty good shape here.
If I could just make one comment on
Sure.
top of that, I've tried to say as often as I could, I want to also thank the Tyngsborough Police Department for their response last week to that call. It was incredible, the presence that was there. It was incredible, the timeliness that they got there. Thank you very much to the Tyngsborough Police Department. Incredible support.
You were actually in the building.
I was in the building. I cannot say enough good things as a person that was in the building, in a closet with almost 50 kids, 2 teachers, in pitch black for 30 minutes. The staff in that building did an incredible job at keeping those kids as calm as humanly possible. I had multiple staff members come and check on me while we were still on soft lockdown, because I don't have any of that training as a volunteer. Parents calling and texting just to make sure everybody was okay. And everybody in that building was just incredible and met those kids where they were at. My husband interfaced with TPD and was just amazed at how kind and patient they were. Because he hit the road from Lowell. I'm like, you can't do anything, just go home. But he was like, I got to do something. And he said that they were just patient and kind and compassionate in answering his questions. And the Mass State Police were great with their presence in the building too. So I cannot say enough good things about how that was handled last week as kind of a visitor in that community on Wednesday. So just thank you to everybody that was there and involved for loving our kids, frankly.
Excellent, thank you.
Well said.
You're all set, Mr. Whitlock?
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, my last thing for this evening, as I discussed at kind of a little bit of length last time, we're required every 3 years to file a Student Opportunity Act. Included the information in the packet last week for you to look at. I shared the basics of the meat and potatoes of what's in it. And so tonight, we're just looking, if you have any questions. I didn't receive any, but if you have any, I'm happy to do my best to answer them, and then would hope you'd seek a motion to approve. So, does anyone have any questions based on what was in there?
No? Could I get a motion to approve the 3-year SOA?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? That carries. Thank you for all your work on that.
Thank you so much. I'll file that tomorrow.
Awesome. New business, TMS grade 7 potential restructuring. Dr. Flanagan?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Mr. Pollitt here today. He's going to run through a couple slides. As the committee knows, last year, one of the things that we did as a cost savings and really looking at our student population and needs was we restructured our 2-person team in grade 6 to 1 team. And we heard great things from Audrey tonight about the creativity innovation class. So they went from 2 teams, team of 4, team of 2, to 1 team that had English, math, science, social studies, and creativity and innovation. So we're potentially having that conversation about 7th grade now, as the population of that 6th grade class has not changed significantly. As they roll up, it may be something that is worth considering. So that being said, I hope I didn't steal any information from your slides, Mr. Pollitt. You'll just have to wing it.
It'll make my part that much shorter. So, each year we're looking at the program of studies in our building and the scope and the sequence, and then looking at our student needs and our student class sizes. And as Dr. Flanagan said, class sizes are definitely declining. We have 1 large class that's with us still. It's the 7th grade class, you can see, with 145 students. But as that class progresses to 8th and then on to 9th grade, our school is going to be substantially smaller for the short term here. I think to be responsible, we will look at what our needs really are, and the class sizes of 22 per class that we have currently with the 5 teachers in 6th grade has worked very, very well. So one of our considerations is the possibility of restructuring that 7th grade model, protecting educational dollars, but also keeping a comprehensive middle school program. I've been here almost 8 years, 7.5 years, and that's one point that I make whenever I'm talking about our school, is that we have a comprehensive middle school program. We have a vibrant unified arts program. We have extremely solid core teachers, and I feel very comfortable that any potential change, we're going to continue that. I never would even suggest that to Dr. Flanagan or to the committee if we were going to put our school in a situation that wasn't offering what our kids really need. So that class size in the proposed restructure would be the same number of 22. So Mike, can you go to the next? So what are some of the impacts that would have? So reducing that staff member is going to create that 5th class that Dr. Flanagan talked about. We recognize that we can operate on a 1-team model with 5 teachers. we would also be able to offer an additional enrichment and intervention class, potentially. We would be exploring the best way to use that 5th staff member based on the needs of this 6th grade, now going to be 7th grade class. What we found this year is that kids have access to all their classes. It's not impacting anything. The length of their day is exactly the same. It's just clearly an opportunity to make the right decisions for what we need that 5th class to be would be in 7th grade. And we've been doing a lot of work this year with our inclusive practices team, academy that we're working with the state, and we have done some really good deep dives into the data to find out where our students really are at. You get the kind of data you got tonight from our 3 presenters, but then you have hard data as far as what kind of progress they're making, and we'll have MCAS data by the end of the summer that will help inform that practice too. So where do we really need to target our interventions, and where do we want to extend our kids as well? So there's really no impact to a student's experience short of just the class size. So the class size will be pretty consistent. Next year's 8th grade will be around 24, and then 7th and 6th will both be around 20. 7th grade will be about 22, and then 6th grade will be approximately 25 or 25 and change. So that we're all in the same ballpark. We feel like that, that we can very effectively do what we're doing and potentially expand upon some of the areas that we think we need to.
I'll
So-
open it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it looks like there's another bubble in the current 5th grade. Would we reevaluate this next year for what that grade looks like?
So that class of 132 5th going into 6th will give us class sizes around 25 and a half to 26. We're very comfortable with that.
Okay.
And
Because
so
we lose about 7 or 8 kids to innovation every year on the middle school.
So we wouldn't be necessarily bouncing back and forth between models. We see this being the model for the next few years.
if we look through the next 4 or 5 class sizes, we're very confident that we can make this be pretty consistent. We don't want to do what you described, absolutely not. We don't want to go 5-person team to 2, 3-person teams, because that just instructionally makes a mess of things, and we don't want that.
And I think quite honestly, we heard loud and clear last night that we're gonna get our 2.7% every year for the next several years. So as we start thinking about our budget, staffing is obviously a cost, and having this model, having this consistent model, and really looking at our needs, I don't disagree that a class of 18 is easier than a class of 25, but we also have other needs in the district. We expressed a need for a literacy coach this year. We expressed a need for a BCBA. We expressed a need for other counselors. We can't do it all, so we're prioritizing this. And as I say all the time, we're not Planet Fitness. We're not just gonna pick it up and put it down. We're really gonna internalize and look at what we need and shift accordingly where we can. So I think this is a smart model moving forward, so we can maximize staffing patterns in other areas of need.
So maybe a question for you, Dr. Flanagan. I know historically, school choice has been closed at the elementary level.
Correct.
Is that something we're considering opening back up to increase these class sizes, or are we comfortable with where they're at?
So we just approved school choice, I think, 2 meetings ago, and I think we only had 7 seats in 7th grade for next year, and that's it. So what we'll do, because of where this current 6th grade is, we know we can accommodate that. I think that certainly that bubble class that's in 5th grade right now, I don't have it in front of me, apologize. Oh, there it is, 5th grade. We would not open up seats for that.
Okay.
Yes, we kind of pick and choose right now. So the committee just approved this year was 7th grade and then a few high school seats. No 8th grade because of that large 7th grade class. Yeah, we need to be smart about that. We need to be thoughtful of that.
Any feedback from the teachers? Any concerns?
I think after last year's changes we made, I think they're prepared for potential restructuring. So it wasn't a surprise that we're considering this. There'll be some specific conversations had. We're gonna evaluate where our strengths are, what we need to do and what our needs are for students, and we're gonna plan accordingly for that. I don't think any of these decisions are easy for, I think, for teachers. I think it's, it's challenging, but the great opportunities that we have going forward with a literacy coach, with, this restructuring, I think is going to better serve our students. Dr. Flanagan's exactly right that we don't just rearrange the deck chairs, and we don't, we're going to make careful thoughtful decisions based on where our kids are at. And we're obviously, over the last several years, it's a very changing group of students everywhere. I just literally drove back from our New England League of Middle Schools conference, and that conversation is consistent from school to school. It's just about dealing with the changeable population and how to adapt our instructional practices to meet the really changing needs of our kids. So this gives us a really good opportunity to do that as well and be fiscally responsible.
And it's ironic that we say it on the night of our public hearing, budget hearing, because Mr. Messina said it last night in front of the select board. This is where we are tonight. That could change tomorrow, depending on somebody walking in the district or leaving the district. So this is where we are right now, and it could evolve.
Probably a question for you, Dr. Flanagan, because now this is a question related to the elementary school. If we're talking about keeping the structure for the 6th grade where they have, they're moving classes so often, how is that going to impact our incoming 6th graders who are currently 5th graders in the elementary school? Traditionally, it's a somewhat difficult transition, just moving campuses and now becoming a middle schooler, and now all of a sudden they're going to have so many teachers with comparison to what they have this year. What has that discussion been?
So I'm going to take the easy way out on this. I love that you asked this question because Mrs. Kavanaugh is going to be at the next meeting to talk about that.
Right.
So we are looking at that. I think that's one of the things that Mrs. Kavanaugh's talked about specifically is how do we prepare our 5th graders more for the transition and the multiple teachers. And we've had a lot of dialogue, Mrs. Kavanaugh and myself, and I know that she has some thoughts. So I know that she's going to share that with you at the next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Do we sort of put a mark on the calendar and say, all right, next school year, we made this change. Let's look at the metrics in a year or two and see, did they change? Are we basically in the noise? Did we see a significant improvement, a significant decrease? Kind of justify our changes? And
I think we do that every year when we look at the data. And I know that maybe you could speak more to this, but we have the state looking at all our data with Katie Novak and then that group. But we dive into it every year and we really look at it. And sometimes it's hard because it's just the personalities in a grade. The kids are so different. But when there certainly is a shift or a structural shift, it does cause us to say, okay, why is this the case, and what's coming out of this? We had this conversation when we went from 2 teams of 4 to a team of 4 and a team of 2. We had these conversations and we made some adjustments internally based on that. But I think it really is going to come down to it's going to take a few years of data and not just 1 year to say this isn't it. So, but I think we do that regularly.
okay.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would jump on that and just say, it can be really difficult to identify one particular thing. Restructuring is a rather large thing, but there are so many variables, and Dr. Flanagan just brought up a couple, just the variability of the students in general, but there are so many variables that go into it. It can be really difficult to isolate if it was this or that.
Yep,
But that's part of the reason why, Mr. Pollitt, Mr. Ogden, Ms. Kavanaugh, they do surveys with students as well, because, numbers can tell you one thing, but if students are saying like, I didn't know what was going on, I was confused and getting their feeling, certainly the students that were here tonight were a good indicator, but it's just 3 out of many, so that's why we need to continually get different data points to make sure that there isn't just one thing that's kind of sending us down the wrong road, hopefully.
But I think we're very intentional with the analysis, and that, if we are working with students in math who are struggling and they need to be intervened with, we defer to, our math specialist or a math content leader, and they recognize it's number sense that we need to focus on very specifically to help improve that. We've noticed that over over time, writing has been a challenge for a number of students, so we're intentionally intervening on that as well. So exactly right that we're looking for trends. A lot of this data is still pretty new and coming out of the pandemic. It's not consistent. We'll have a better idea, but we're making, I think, very educated guesses and responses to what we're seeing. But that's, like Dr. Flanagan said, what we have today is one thing, and we could have a completely changing demographic or recognize some things that we need to adapt in the future as well. That's the great thing about a team model, is the flexibility that comes with it. And you're not locked into anything. The concept of that team, whether it's a 2-person team or a 5-person team, it doesn't matter. It's what you're doing with that team, what you're focusing on, and how do you help kids each year. So to Becky's point about, that transition, if we have a group of 6th graders who transition, it's much more difficult. We're going to put the brakes on. We're going to make some adaptations in 6th grade. We're going to start slow. I joke every time I come in the fall that give them 2 weeks and they're running the school. Well, some years they may not be running the school. They may not be there yet. So what are we going to do to adapt to that? How are we going to structure that? And then this 6th grade class, to Dr. Flanagan's point, could be very different, completely different in 7th grade. We have some really, when they come to visit, there are some noticeable changes that our 7th graders undertook over the summer at the end of the last school year. So some of the things that we put in place for what we were concerned about, we didn't need to do that. So I think we're a very adaptable, have to be an adaptable age group based on where your population is, and that's what we're trying to do.
Excellent. Anything else? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pollitt, for hanging out with us tonight.
It's great.
We appreciate
It's
it.
always fun to hang out with you guys.
Come back every 2 weeks, we're here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll get you one of these little name tags if you want. All right. Finance, Mr. Messina.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for signing of bills, there were 12 bill warrants presented to the committee tonight. I do have them all back signed. As always, the list of warrant numbers, accounts, and amounts are in your drive. For signing of payroll, 2 payrolls since we last discussed, the payroll of March 11th as well as the payroll of March 25th. Again, in your drive, the list of warrants and amounts. And for the February financial package, in your drive are the 3 reports that make up the package, your budget at the end of February, as well as the revolving account balances and the student account balances. And I will leave the March 1st enrollment to the chair.
Excellent. Elementary school, 766. Middle school, 371. High school, 421. Out of district, 23, for a grand total of 1,581 students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Messina. I don't think we have anything other. School committee discussion. Becky.
Right. This was an action-packed meeting. Mr. Messina, Dr. Flanagan, thank you, as well as your staff, for putting together such a responsible budget. I know that this was a difficult budget year, but I do expect future years will be more difficult. So thank you for putting together such a responsible budget. I really appreciate that. Thanks to Audrey, Sage, and Phil for presenting for the middle school. That was very impressive. That's why we come. And I wanted to comment about the celebration of us. So thanks to Kate Walsh and her team for putting that together. It was a great event. My family enjoyed it, and it was nice to see it over on this campus as well. So there was a lot of effort that went into that, and thanks to the families for coming.
Yeah, so great to see the middle school students come and speak to us. Just as someone that works with curriculum and instruction and teachers a lot, it was really nice to hear about all of the real-world kind of experiences they were utilizing in their schoolwork, in their projects, and the amount of choice that students had to kind of tailor it to what they cared about and what was Taylor. That was not, it was accidental. But what was important to them. I think that's a really important part of engaging students. And Mr. Pollitt talked about, like, the population of our students is changing, and engaging them is the number one thing we need to do to influence learning. And so it was really nice to hear that. So kudos to our middle school staff for getting out there and creating exciting opportunities for students to apply the knowledge to things that matter to them.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm all set tonight, thank you.
Well, thank you to Mr. Messina and his staff in putting together another very hard-fought budget this year. Always impressive what he's able to get done each year. Thanks to the kids from the middle school coming out. They did a wonderful job tonight. They get more and more impressed each time. Those kids come out and do something, and those three kids really hit it. It was nice to know that they were chosen from their fellow students to come out and do that. That says a lot about them and their character and what they were able to accomplish. Other than that, I am all set for this evening.
So again, thank you, Joe and the Budget Subcommittee for all the hard work that went to the budget this year. Thanks to the middle school for coming out. You know, it's one of my favorite parts of this job is when the students come and present. It's always interesting to hear from them. Thank you to TES staff and TPD for the response to the swatting incident. You know, it was blowing up on social media. Parents were freaked out, and I think it was handled very well. So, you know, we made the best of a bad situation. And then I want to thank Dr. Flanagan and all three building principals. I had my annual tour a couple weeks ago, walked through all the buildings. It's one of my favorite days of the year is being able to walk through and see what's going on in the schools. So thank you to them for hosting me.
Thank you again, Mr. Messina and Dr. Flanagan, and everybody that worked to put together the budget. I know it is not an easy feat, and just want to make sure you get enough credit. So thank you for putting together such a solid budget for next year with what we had to work with. Thank you again to the middle school students. Always an awesome job, as everybody has already said. Always enjoyable to see what the kids' perspective is, and so I appreciate that as well. And I know I've already said it tonight, but thank you again to everybody at TES and the Tyngsborough Police Department and Massachusetts State Police for being so wonderful and supportive and keeping our kids and staff safe last week. So, that's that.
Thank you.
So, ditto to everything that was said. I generally don't single out people, but I'm going to tonight. Yeah, it was a crazy day last week, and I do want to recognize and thank the incredible work of Cheryl Santos at the elementary school. I'm not going to get into everything that she did, but she was the anchor in that office and did a phenomenal job. So, Cheryl, thank you for everything you did and holding down the fort and being the voice and the level head, and just an incredible job. That's it.
All right, thank you. I too would like to echo everyone's comments about the budget. The middle school kids, it was nice to hear. I know two of them brought up the media room, and we've made some investment in that going into the new middle school. So
We did.
it was nice to hear that that's going to pay off, and our kids are truly enjoying it and learning from it. Thank you to everybody again about what the swatting issue last week at the elementary school. Communication with Dr. Flanagan, myself, is always incredible, so thank you for that and keeping me informed. I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to share everything with you guys, but I try. But thank you for that. And that is it. We do have a need for executive session this evening to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. We will return from executive session only to adjourn our regular session meeting. This action requires a roll call vote.
Let's make the motion first.
Oh, motion.
So moved.
Second.
This does require a roll call vote.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Thank you all and have a good night.